In an average year, more than 300 million of us fly long haul. And one thing a lot of us look forward to when flying is the food. So with more than 1 million hungry passengers in the air at any one time, how does everyone get something to eat? With exclusive access, we go behind the scenes at the UK's largest in-flight caterer, whose job it is to keep millions of travellers' taste buds tantalised on nearly 30,000 flights every year. This is where food production on a mega scale.
You're not going to use 200 grams of chili spice because it just blow your head off.
Meets the glamour of air travel.
Tartlets of a butternut squash with a little bit of curry spice in there.
How do they decide what we eat on board?
This is what it could turn into: potato soup.
And how does a meal never miss a flight?
There's a car on fire on the M4. So yeah, it's a tough day today.
Tonight, we reveal all as we welcome you to the secrets of your airline food. It's 6 a.m. and the early arrivers are checking in their luggage at Heathrow, London. Little do they know that just down the road, it's also check-in time for a food delivery. On a mega scale.
We've got carrots, we've got onions, leek, lettuce, all kind of salads that's coming in.
Welcome to the UK's biggest supplier of airline food. An operation that must run to military precision. Every 24 hours, 37,000 meals are made here from scratch and then eaten on planes flying all over the world. Whether you're a first-class flyer or riding slightly further back, there's a chance your sky-high breakfast, lunch, or dinner has been prepared, cooked and packed here at Donata, recently known as Alpha LSG. So what does one meal have to endure to arrive at a passenger on one of the 82 flights the company cooks for every day? It's a journey that starts painfully early in the morning.
Deliveries start from 5. Can get very busy. You definitely have to be joining the queue and wait until it's your turn.
Terry is the man with the huge task of making sure every one of the 50 deliveries from 85 suppliers a day is up to scratch. Over a year, thousands of tons of food arrives here, including 78 tons of carrots, 180 tons of potatoes, and 94 tons of onions. The same weight as a pair of Concords on takeoff. And just like the supersonic plane, they don't hang around.
All of these which you've seen here will be gone within the next 12 hours.
This arrival is destined for a 7 p.m. flight to Tokyo. We're going to follow every step of the journey of this mountain of food. From the pallet, right to the passenger's tray on the plane tonight. So, with the clock ticking to take off, Terry gets started on the first of the unusual set of culinary challenges that airline food provides. It's vital that the ingredients are the right size to fit in the dishes we eat from on board, which on average is a snug 10.5 centimetres wide by 15 centimetres long.
So these guys, they will do the check on it. They may just take a bag randomly and just open it, just make sure that it's within spec. The chefs will do the same before they actually start cooking it. We have very tight quality control here.
And to help with that, there's a very technical piece of kit. A ruler.
So this is a graded 9 centimeter carrot. take the ruler and just check it to make sure that, well, it's within spec. We have dishes which can just hold the exact 9 centimeters. You're getting carrots which are 20 centimeters, then it's not fit for purpose. It wouldn't look nice, it wouldn't fit in a dish.
But for the ingredients that do make the cut for tonight's flight to Tokyo, they're in action immediately, where all the food is cooked in the epic kitchen. 160 chefs are cooking constantly here. 365 days of the year for 30 airlines. 25 nationalities conjuring up 15 different cuisines. And they all answer to one man, head chef and airline food veteran, Tim.
Okay. Yeah, it's massive. It's really huge. It's 24/7. We have a brigade of chefs on nights as well, so it's constant. There's 2 kitchens in the same building. What you see here is mirrored next door. So we've got the non-halal, which is here, and we've got the halal, which is next door. We do a wide range, from mashed potato to Lobster Thermador, and everything in between.
While the cooking never stops for the day's flights, tucked away upstairs, there's another vital deadline being chased.
Do you want to get the rice on the go?
This is the development kitchen. It might be the smallest kitchen on site, but it's where 10,000 meals every year are tested and tweaked before they can even dream of making it 35,000 feet up. From first class to crew food and everything in between. Kevin Love heads up the team. As a former right-hand man to Michelin-starred chef Heston Blumenthal, he knows what he's talking about.
We've got a great mix of chefs here from Asian, Indian and Middle Eastern specialities. We've got guys that have worked on cruise ships and hotels, all the way up to fine dining and Michelin-star restaurants.
Every one of the 30 airlines that get their meals made here must sign off every new dish for their menus at a face-to-face presentation. And today, Chef Niall is prepping for one of the biggest days of the year, when they will present more than 100 meals to the largest airline in Japan, ANA, All Nippon Airways.
I love cooking, full stop. For 10, 15 years I've been designing menus. You can be encased inside this aluminium tube for hours. There's not a lot else to do. You can watch a movie, you can walk up and down the plane, but ultimately, the food is so important.
It's a key contract worth millions, and with multiple caterers for the airline to choose from, it's crucial for Niall and his team to impress.
Right. We do 2 presentations a year to ANA. Started approximately about 2 months ago, where I received sheets from ANA asking for us to present certain dishes and also to present suggestions.
To add more pressure, ANA even win awards for their food, and with a whopping 42 million hungry passengers a year, Niall has to be on top of his game.
Be offering and showing them a muse-bouche. This is a dish which we'll have prior to take-off, maybe, to a little, just to get them in the mood for their main courses. We'll be showing a caviar service. From the caviar service, we go on to appetizers. Get a selection of main courses, roasted salmon with shrimp, a tomato and walnut vinaigrette. The passengers expect this from ANA.
One dish for these guys can contain up to 55 ingredients, so they're going to need a hefty shopping list.
It's not like your shopping list my wife would go and do her shopping list. There's 700 items. Every ingredient is essential to the success of our dishes.
Niall has definitely got his plate full. And when you're prepping airline food, that plate has got some very precise dimensions. Along with the size of the ingredients, each dish must be no more than 3.2 centimetres high to fit in the carts on board. And no more than a minuscule 250 grams in weight. The more weight on a plane, the more fuel is hoovered up. And with as many as 868 trays on board, just an extra 50 grams on each plate could drain enough fuel to stop a plane getting within 2 miles of the runway.
Yeah, excellent. Put it into one of these, please. Superb.
And remember, they're not doing this purely for the love of food. Kevin and the team must make sure they're getting as much bang for their buck as possible when choosing what food to fly. Take the humble olive.
This is a 2 kilo box. If we were to divide that by, let's say, a 50 gram portion, quick maths would say that I'd get 40 portions. Once it's drained, if we lose, say, 500 grams of oil, that's actually 30 portions. So that's a big difference. We've lost quite a lot. We've lost 650 grams. If you scale that up, if that's on every aircraft that we do in all cabins, the cost of that is pretty huge.
Every single ingredient for every dish must pass this test before it gets its boarding pass for the menu. And if Kevin gets it wrong here, then it will be a disaster if the meals are multiplied in the thousands in the big kitchen downstairs. The stakes of getting it wrong couldn't be higher.
One little error like that can expand into thousands of pounds almost on a daily, if not weekly basis of loss to the business.
As the team continue their prep upstairs, back down in the kitchen, it's all systems go. Although it's still 12 hours to the Tokyo flight. And there's one breakfast favourite hoping to make it that's being cooked on an epic scale. The omelette.
I use 40 liters, 50 liters egg per day. I make it for different airlines, different omelettes.
Over her 7 years here, Natalia has broken many an egg and made nearly a staggering 1 million omelettes.
Today is 400 and plus pancake already, which I make it morning time. Sometimes I make it 500, sometimes before I make it 800, my record.
Another dish that's destined for the Tokyo flight tonight is the business class fillet of beef. Like every dish that's cooked here, it will be cooled before being reheated on board in the aircraft oven. But before it's cleared for takeoff, it must pass the green light of kitchen boss Tim and senior sous chef Rafal. And they go to extraordinary lengths to make sure the food will taste just like on board.
When we do this, we're reheating the aircraft oven. So what we're tasting now, we know this is what the customer's going to be tasting because it's been reheated in an aircraft oven for a set period of time. And that's good. The trick is to make sure that when the passenger sees it in front of them, it's just as though it's just been cooked for them on the aircraft. It's tricky enough in the restaurant to do this right. But when you think about it, to do a reheat is really another level. Really good. Nice one, chef.
For most of us, it won't be filet de boeuf under the tin foil. But the economy meals get the same taste test.
We just got a selection here. Stir-fried prawns with egg fried rice. Coq au vin. You've got this is balsamic beef, yes, Raph? Yes. Okay, so we'll have a taste, Raph, of the stir-fried prawns, yeah? Flavours are there. The rice is really good. It's spicy. That's good.
There's a man who loves his work. But it's a serious business making sure the thousands of meals in Tim's kitchen taste and look exactly as they did when starting life in Kevin's development kitchen upstairs. And supersizing meals comes with a warning.
They will make a recipe for 3 or 4 people. Then what I do is we times up all the ingredients in that. If you're going to times up every single item in a recipe, a lot of it will work, except for your spices, the herbs. If you're using 1 gram and you want 200 times that, you're not going to use 200 grams of chili spice because you just blow your head off. So then what we do, we will get it cooked and we will tweak that before it goes live. So good, honestly, Raf, it's so good. I'm sounding like a broken record, but I'm telling you that is such good food. This really cheers me up every time.
In a normal year, more people are flying long haul than ever before. Which means even more of us are making a reservation to dine at 35,000 feet. And what we get to eat on board has become an obsession, with social media full of mile-high meal reviews.
I had pasta. The only ever vegetarian option is pasta.
Really, really nice. Not too spicy, but spicy enough. Really lovely.
So keeping passengers happy with their grub is serious business.
How's the Royal Brunei today?
Yeah, it's going well, very well.
Labels good?
Yes.
Any...
Sarah is on the front line, keeping passengers and the airlines happy.
Pretty good, yeah.
So she knows what's what when it comes to our love it or loathe it feelings about airline food.
A lot of people sit on the aeroplane and that is the beginning of their holidays. What you see there, what you eat, what you taste starts, you know, whether you're going to have a good day or a bad day. For a lot of people, they may think this food wasn't great on this carrier, I'm going to try a different carrier next time, you know, so it can be very important.
But no matter how fast or talented the chef, to feed tens of thousands of people safely a day, you need some serious tech. Step up another secret of your airline food, the Mega Blast Chillers. They are the next compulsory stop-off for every dish, including the food signed off by Tim for today's Tokyo flight.
This is a quick method to chilling the food. It's very important to be safe for the food and to be safe for customers.
Each blast chiller blows cold air over the cooked food, rapidly cooling it down to below 8 degrees and out of what's known as the danger zone where bacteria can boom. It's not rocket science, but it was first discovered by NASA in the 1960s when investigating safe food for space travel.
So all the process we check it with the probes. For example, that one is still not right to remove because it's too high temperature. It's in the danger zone. Yes, this is danger zone.
From this point on, all the food must be kept below 8 degrees until it's ready to be reheated on the plane. While the food chills downstairs, the temperature in the development kitchen is heating up, as the team still have dozens of dishes to prepare for their big presentation. Chefs Niall and Danny are ironing out their strategy for a first-class dish they're hoping will wow the airline.
Very neatly put the akira, the salmon roe eggs across there. Tiny palette knife, we don't want to get any fingerprints on the plate or on the roulade.
While at the back of the kitchen, Chef Manabu is working on a 7-course Japanese showstopper.
This is a part of kaiseki-style Japanese meal. This particular course is a highlight for a lot of Japanese. As everyone knows, we love raw fish. According to the spec, I need three pieces, 10 grams. For kaiseki style, we normally pick odd number rather than even number. The reason being is that the number starts 1, which is an odd number, so it's considered to be better than even number, which is 2. It's sort of hidden meaning to it.
Airlines often use their food to show off their culture and traditions. While British Airlines will often lay on a cream tea, on a Japanese airline, it can be sashimi with a story.
When we dish small particular dish, we always think about how the story goes. So with this vegetable, you make kind of mountain. It has to have a bit of height, so it looks nice. You need nice color to balance. You put yellow, and yeah. So I hope it goes well.
Meanwhile, Danny and Niall have gone fully French.
This is a sea bass roulade. So we have a sea bass fillet, which we've taken the skin off, and we're just batting it out now gently trying to get the right dimensions. And then we're going to put 30 grams of a scallop and lobster mousse inside, some cauliflower puree that we've made, some seasoning, some lemon juice, and it goes with a carrot sauce, a different cauliflower puree, and salmon roe. It can be quite intricate, the work for A&A on this, particularly on the first class, as it should be.
But sometimes airline food can even go above and beyond first class.
A few years ago, we had to go and support Air Force One to do a presentation when the President of America was in Ireland.
We do have a customer that have quite a special service, let's call it, where they provide for their passengers, it's its own little cabin, essentially. And they can have pretty much anything they want in there. That can be anything from the finest beluga caviar to Alba truffles, or it could just be a box of fried chicken or a pizza.
Going to garnish with the salmon roe, being as careful as possible. It's all about finesse. And lastly, we're going to garnish with the dill, which gives a lovely bit of colour and vibrancy. And here we have the completed dish.
It oozes quality.
Quality. But what do the airline food connoisseurs themselves go for when they fly?
On board, I'd like to eat the finest foie gras personally. It probably is not going to happen. I'd like to have a bottle of Bollinger. It's not going to happen.
I love airline food. I eat it all. The kids, everyone's. I'll say, if you don't want it, give it to me, pass it over. I just love the whole thing.
I'm a bit of a sucker for a bacon roll and a beer. I really enjoy that when I go flying. I don't think you can beat a bacon roll and a beer, really.
$11 a.m. and back in the kitchen downstairs, the food for today's flights is on the move again. Along with hundreds of other ingredients, they've left the blast chillers and have been waiting patiently before entering the plating rooms. These two massive areas see up to 60,000 items a day come together to transform into the dishes we eat in the air. And with the clock constantly counting down to takeoff, they must all be kept an eye on. Enter Martin, the airline food number cruncher.
What we've started to now do is to use tablet technology in order to be able to track those items. At every moment in time, over a year, our tablet technology is actually holding the data and the information for over 33 million individual items that we've actually produced.
Natalia's omelettes and Tim's fillet of beef are both here, but now they're out of the blast chiller, it means there's a constant threat of food falling into the danger zone. For Amar and her colleague Darshan, they've got to get a move on for the food to make the flight safely.
This is the business class we are making. But in this foil, they're going 3 portions.
There are strict time limits to plate each flight to keep the food safe to eat. And if the team take too long, the only destination for the meals will be the bin.
The job bar is very small. That doesn't go like 10, 15 minutes. If it's economy, then over 45 minutes we can't put outside. Beef 140 grams, 2 asparagus, 30 gram truffle sauce, and then 20 gram wild mushroom, the one is we put it over here. And 1 red pepper.
This is epic scale cooking with mega tech. Tracking the meal's weight as well as keeping an eye on the temperature so it doesn't rise into the dreaded danger zone.
This is safe. Dish is complete.
There's 7 hours till takeoff, and with the food plated up, it's time for it to fly the nest of the kitchens across the yard to get ready for travel. But not all meals that arrive here have such a quick trip. In fact, a whopping 84,000 frozen meals are delivered from off-site every week.
This goes on many different flights, all stored in here. We use a slacking process 24 hours before it goes on the aircraft. We put them outside in the chilled environment, outside the freezer, so make sure it's not frozen once we load it on the flight.
So, with today's meals defrosted, it's time for them to be united with the rest of their fellow tray travellers. Every single item on the tray placed in front of a passenger gets brought together here.
When you walk from one end to the other, it takes quite some time. Then if you start stopping and looking at all these corners and nooks and crannies, you know, 2-3 hours later, you get back to where you start from.
Every 3 seconds, a tray is assembled, including nearly 6 million bread rolls a year. From a simple bap to a brioche bun.
It's the amount of items that we're talking about, not just your hot food, but it's the bread and the butter and the cheese and the cracker and this dessert and you know, this little yogurt with this spoon in there and a wet wipe. So many different components just to make that one tray.
That's one of the cold hors d'oeuvres, smoked salmon.
Kevin and Khalid are busy checking the newly arrived meals for the Tokyo flight. These two know the airline food game inside out. They're about to celebrate their Ruby anniversary, working together here for 40 years.
There is that odd occasion where we have a little bit of a barley, but it's life. But we're great, we get on well, yeah.
That's longer than most marriages.
Well, it's longer than my marriage.
While Khalid is on the business and first class...
Yeah, that's business class, beef. That's 3 portions for 3 passengers.
Kevin is on economy.
Because you've got vegetable curry for Japanese choice. And the Western, we have chicken. That's the first choice. And the second choice, this one is a beef with ginger. In the Western, we have seafood. We have a ratio, we have a chart which tells us percentage-wise what we need to put in.
While these meals have had a smooth journey so far, there's always some ingredients that just don't like flying.
That's good.
Top chef and development kitchen boss Kevin Love has had to learn a few secrets of the airline food game which don't apply to conventional cooking.
This is a good example of a classic economy meal. Got very simple chicken, mash, vegetables and the sauce in there.
Even creating this frequent flyer can cause havoc for airline chefs.
When you're in the air, it's a fact that you lose about 30% of your taste buds. So that's to do with aircraft noise, it's to do with the dry atmosphere because of the recycled air pressure. It's a bit like you've got a cold.
With the risk of dulled taste buds, chefs like Kevin must find a way to pack a punch for the customers while keeping the costs down.
taking this dish as an example, there are a few tricks we can do.
Smuggled into the sauce, the dish has a secret ingredient loved by airline chefs.
We use umami-rich ingredients. So umami is found in tomatoes, it's found in anchovies, seaweeds, parmesan, and what it does, it just boosts that savoury flavour. I've got a kombu here. This is a British seaweed. It's packed full of umami.
Chicken breast is a firm favourite, but it's a battle to keep moist.
We're always combating dryness in airline food because of the dry atmosphere and the ovens and cooking. Quite an old technique, brining. What the brine does is it travels through the meat and flavours the meat on the inside. That just helps keep the meat a little bit more moist. So chicken will sit in there for a few hours and then we wash it off. Just going to finish it off cooking in the steamer.
And not forgetting the mash, that has a little-known habit of behaving badly on board.
Mashed potato generally has a tendency to split when it's reheated. So I've got an example here of a very waxy potato with quite a high water content, and this is what it could turn into. Potato soup. We have to use a very dry, fluffy potato. This is one ingredient on one dish on one airline. It is that insane.
Back across the yard in dispatch, it's 6 hours to take off for the Tokyo flight. Here, 82 flights a day all queue for departure. Everything needed for onward travel is loaded from here. Even the ice to keep your wine or fruit juice cool. All thanks to this machine. Every year, it churns out nearly 4 million slabs of dry ice to chill the carts. Time may be ticking down to take off for today's meals, but they still can't leave dispatch. 70 trucks and 50 vans are the crucial link to the airport, running back and forth more than 200 times a day. But before any of them get filled up with today's meals, they must unload every single thing from their last flight. And there's a lot to shift. Every day they drop off 30,000 cups, 35,000 plates, and 47,000 bowls at the washroom. Here, 8 mega washers pump through nearly 10,000 items an hour.
If any rubbish on the floor, ask the cleaner. After they start first class, yeah?
It's a military operation that needs an army of 40 staff. Today, they're led by Jagjit.
Nearly 75 to 80 flights we cater a day. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. We have to wash on time and deliver on time in the production area. We load on time, we can deliver on time to the airport. Or meet the deadline. I'm excited for that.
As well as washing on an epic scale, Jagjit's team must deal with the constant war on waste from picky passengers.
We can't control here the people, what they eat on the aeroplane. Any bottle of wine or Coke, anything, we have to put in the recycle machine. That's it. Any food waste come offload from the aircraft, we have to dump in the compactor area.
3 compactors take a mind-boggling 20 tons of waste a day from the washroom. Over a year, the same weight in fuel could fly you around the world 19 times.
Disposable glasses, tea, coffee cups, and the plastic dishes. So everything we put in the compactor.
Along with the liquid leftovers, the waste is turned into energy that generates electricity for nearly 1,000 homes a year. It's an epic task that never stops, but maybe just the right man for the job.
Finish everything on time, deliver everything on time. That's all.
Wingy, can you go around getting plastics off?
It's decision time for Niall and his team.
Shall I just space them out for you?
Yeah, space them, if that's okay. I think we've got all the canopies and the mews. Let's keep it flowing.
They filleted, flipped, poached and pureed. And finally, after 300 hours of prep, they're nearly ready for All Nippon Airways to give their verdict on nearly 200 dishes.
I'll be leading from the front. They're my right-hand men. I mean, I look at it like I'm a surgeon. They know my next move. I put my hand out and I'll have my knife given to me. If something needs garnishing, they will be there. So they're 2 steps ahead of me.
This is serious stuff. A&A will be bringing a vastly experienced and highly respected team of chefs whose opinion on the food is paramount. As it's one of the airlines she looks after, Sarah has the inside scoop on what they'll be looking for.
They like it to be professional. If it's organised, you'll see when Niall's laid out the food, it gets laid out in such a way, that's how they like it.
They're coming in.
But the proof is in the tasting. And as soon as the A&A chefs arrive, it's straight to work.
Tartlets of a butternut squash with a little bit of curry spice in there. Vol au vent, so, you know, it's coming back into fashion, the vol au vents.
The airline is judging both Western and Japanese food for flights up to 9 months in advance. And each dish must look, taste and weigh the same as when it flies. And to give the chefs the ultimate airline food experience, there's a familiar sight.
In order to show the customer as close as it would be to what the passenger gets, we will reheat everything in the airline oven.
Although the food might not taste how we'd expect it.
When chefs are tasting here, they have to be mindful of how it will taste in the air. So we've talked about umami and using different ingredients to boost savoury flavours. That will be encapsulated in pretty much everything we've got here.
There's a lot of flavour in this dish, which I thought about when designing this.
Even though prep for today has taken 2 months, the visiting chefs have the power to immediately change anything they don't like.
They don't use a spoon, they pour it, so it needs to be more like soup consistency than this.
The smallest of tweaks are leading to some drastic changes.
We're looking at the canapé, the first service, and we had a few items there that the chef thought might clash with menu items that he's chosen for the appetizers and the main courses. So he's just having a look at what items we've got there that we can either create a whole new canapé. He's also checking the weight. It could be that the combination of the 3 he's chosen takes him slightly overweight or slightly underweight.
And next door in the Japanese room, there's also changes afoot.
マグロはキハダですね。キハダのマグロ。キハダマグロとホタテ。
Manabu's 7-course showstopper is one of the 70 dishes he and Chef Yoshi created for the A&A chefs to judge. And it's a hit.
It was received well. Chef was happy with it, but there has been a bit of tweak because there was a duplicate of the ingredients. It's go back to sort of kaiseki style. You shouldn't really have the duplicate of the ingredients, so make it more exciting for a diner.
While the chefs continue to deliberate, Back in dispatch, it's 3:30. And the ingredients that arrive first thing in the morning are finally ready to depart for the airport and the Tokyo flight.
Hi Chris, what's my next job? 326 at 8:55. Thank you very much.
And today, making sure no meal will miss their connection, is logistics controller Chris.
We have about 10 flights all going off the dock within an hour, 2 trucks per flight, so you're looking at 20 trucks an hour.
Being so close to one of the main routes into London means the risk of disruption is high. And today, there's trouble on the roads.
There's a car on fire on the M4 which then causes lots of build-up of traffic in the local area. That then affects us because it takes the trucks a lot longer to get to the airport. It also delays them coming back as well, so it has a double impact on us. Yeah, it's a tough day today.
With today's flights raring to go, will they get to their gate on time? Back at the presentation...
You can bring it out now. Do you want to see it now? Yes. Right.
It's time for Niall and Danny's sea bass dish to take centre stage.
So the chefs are now quickly preparing a product to bring out to show the chef. And that's the way it rolls sometimes. And it keeps the chefs on their toes too, so it's good. Beautiful. Other dish. So the sea bass. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
The dish is cleared for takeoff.
No changes. Brilliant. They want to keep it. No changes, so we're delighted.
And I'm really pleased that he said it was, you know, he's more than happy with it. So that's the reward for the hard work.
The day is finally over.
提案させていただいたメニューがそのままイメージ通りの味に出来上がっているものが数多くあったのでとても良かったと思います。自分も楽しみながら相手も笑っていただけてると思うのでとてもよくできたと思います。
Over 100 new dishes will soon be multiplied in the thousands to fly high around the globe. It's 4 p.m. and crunch time for the food flying to Tokyo. No matter what the obstacle, it must leave the dock 3 hours before departure. But first, driver Jose and flight coordinator Kevin have 3 tons of food and equipment to load onto the 2 lorries for the flight.
Everything's actually loaded in numbers. Every trolley will have a position number. So when we go on the aircraft, it's all follows suit. 102, 103, which all follows on. 106. Because I've got to make sure I've got the right number of trolleys on board. Everything is on me to make sure it's correctly loaded.
With the lorries sealed for security,
all right, all good.
At the airport, passengers are already starting to arrive for check-in. Time for Jose and bodyguard to the meals Kevin to hit the road.
Sometimes it can be a long time to get there. Right now it's okay, but sometimes it could be very busy. We just have to drive very carefully so that everything gets there in one piece.
Back at dispatch, Chris is keeping a close eye on Jose's journey thanks to a GPS tracker on the lorry.
This will be our route into the airport. You're never safe, we're always watching.
So yeah, we're just approaching the security gates.
Just like the passengers, every vehicle entering the airport must clear security, even for something as harmless as an omelette.
Even the slightest error on that paperwork can mean that they'll refuse entry to the airport and they'll be turned back, and we'll have to obviously recheck it and reseal it again.
And that could cause massive disruption.
If we do delay boarding, sometimes that can mean a financial penalty, which is why we try so hard to prevent the delay of the aircraft.
But not today.
He's just going through the cargo tunnel.
Now the team only have 1 hour to get everything off and on the plane. It's time for some precision parking.
He's just going to position himself by the back door and then guide us to it. It's all on him on this, at this moment, it's all on him. If he makes a mistake, then we all in the bad state.
So, with crates in position, it's time for the final hurdle. All of the last flight is loaded up for Jagjit's washroom back at base.
What I'm doing now is checking, make sure the air chillers are on to keep the food at the right temperature.
Food securely out of the danger zone, and all the carts and ovens loaded, just as the passengers are arriving at their gate.
All the food is on board, catering's done, and we're ready to go. Job done.
Just a couple of hours after takeoff, somewhere over Sweden, at 35,000 feet, it's the final destination of an unbelievable journey for Tim's beef and Natalia's omelette.
To see it from its beginning stages, its raw stages, to in the kitchen designing it, having it costed, and then maybe 6 months down the line, if I'm lucky enough to see it flying, and that's superb. You can't ask for anything else.
To be honest, I still don't know how we do it. It's insane how many departments there are that all come together and get these flights off the ground. It's just mind-boggling.
From veg being measured first thing in the morning to flying out that same evening and repeated thousands and thousands of times a day. It's a never-ending cycle for the most frequent of flyer.